Hello my friends, and welcome to a brand new mini-series where I'll be giving you a crash course in the best places to go and the best items to get early on in Shadow of the Erdtree. Starting from the very first Site of Grace, we are going to be unlocking a bunch of shortcuts and hidden paths to new areas, so that if you wish, you can bypass every single boss and almost every single enemy for now, whilst you acquire a bunch of new equipment and weapons, and level up your Erdtree Blessing and Revered Spirit Ashes. Therefore, as you follow along with me, by the time you have finished this guide, you will be able to jump straight into using some of these new awesome things on offer, rather than having to grind through the first hours of the DLC using all of your boring old equipment. Obviously, if you're more of a hardcore player and you'd rather give yourself more of a challenge, don't feel like you have to use the new buffs immediately. They aren't automatic, you collect them and you use them when you want to. But this will be perfect for people who are maybe a little more apprehensive and perhaps intimidated by the difficulty jump of the DLC and would like to get a head start before tackling some of the new bosses. Welcome to Gravesite Plain, my friends. As I open the map, you'll see for the first time in my life I have utilized markers. These are absolutely great. I will be using these a lot throughout this video to help you orientate yourself and keep track of where we are going. When you first open this map, you obviously won't see this. You'll need to go and collect the map fragment first, but it is very, very close by to the northeast. And then we are going to start off by continuing northeast for now. Then eventually we will be heading northwest in the direction of Belurat settlement, and eventually loop round and grab some important items from the south as well. For now, however, once you have grabbed the map fragment, head southeast and follow me into this forest. And we will now carry on heading east and eventually north down this cliff to the Church of Consolation. As I say, you will pretty much need to fight nothing in this video, so feel free to ignore this Black Knight if you want. All he drops is his shield, and the only reason we are here is for the two Erdtree fragments behind him. So grab them, and now you can head back the way we came. Once you make your way back to the top of the hill, we're going to head northeast. And right at the edge of this cliff is a Revered Spirit Ash. Now head slightly north and quickly take out this shining jar enemy I've mentioned a few times before he has chance to disappear. And then you can acquire another Erdtree fragment and quickly make your escape. Now keep heading north, and you can also acquire the backhand blade from this altar. And as we are making our way west to the Site of Grace, I just want to remind you, I do appreciate I am missing a lot of items here. If you do want a full list of every single important thing you should grab for every single area, check out my Things You Missed playlist. This is just to give you a head start at the start of your playthrough and grab some really juicy items far earlier than you ordinarily would. Now grab the Erdtree fragment and rest at the Grace. And once I've cleared out these markers, we're now going to head north to the abandoned Ailing village, and then eventually we'll come back on ourselves and go up towards Belurat. Make sure you're going northwest and go down the cliff here. Do not head towards the bridge. That was just me being silly. The first thing you can do if you want, as you see there's a Site of Grace just there that you can grab. I'll be getting that in just a second. For now, we're going to head right, hugging the cliff edge, and a little bit further up here is another Revered Spirit Ash. Once you've got that and the Site of Grace, head west towards this big lake, and right in front of the Ghost Flame Dragon will be the Great Katana. You don't need to kill the dragon now if you don't want to. You can just grab the Great Katana and go away. So now we're done here, head back to the 3-path cross Site of Grace, and we're going to head west towards Belurat settlement. Once you make it up the first lot of stairs, you can grab another Erdtree fragment and a Site of Grace. Now we are going to head up towards the settlement, but we're only going to explore the very first room. Up the first flight of stairs, you will see a spider scorpion. They look far more intimidating than they actually are. Most builds will be able to one-shot them like so. Now, on the altar in the middle of the next room, grab the 2 revered spirit ashes, and we are done here. We're going to head back out and back down both flights of stairs. And as you're going down the second flight of stairs, you want to go right towards these cliffs. Hug the cliff edge past these dogs, and you can start making your way down a hidden path. All of the items along here are pretty lackluster, so I'll just run past all the items and the bats. Feel free to grab them if you want. And then before long, you'll come to this Site of Grace. Once you've grabbed that, we're now going to run southwest until we're at the very corner of this area. And here you can take out another shiny jar enemy for another Erdtree Fragment. Now we're just going to keep heading all the way over to the east. And right by this little pool of water is another revered spirit ash. Now let me just open up the map and show you where we've just been, just in case you've got confused. So we went to Belurat, we grabbed the Sites of Grace, that's where the Erdtree Fragment was, that's where the revered spirit ash was. Now we are going to go southwest, hugging the edge of the cliff and making our way round to another hidden path. Feel free to grab this cookbook as we go past if you'd like, but you don't need it for now. And then as you go past these rats and round the corner, you will be ambushed by a curse blade. These things are lethal in the early game, so just ignore it, sprint past on torrent, and if you want, quit out of the game to be sure that you have de-aggroed. Once you've loaded back in, you can grab the Blessed Blue Dew Talisman, and then slightly north at the edge of this cliff, you can get the full Oathseeker Knight set along with the new Parter Fist weapon. And with that, we are now back at the first Site of Grace after grabbing loads of really cool stuff in less than 10 minutes. As you see, I'm now going to upgrade my blessings, and already we have a Erdtree blessing of 3 and a revered spirit ash buff of 4. And this is only part 1 of 4, my friends, so strap in as I take you to the next area of the map. We're now going to check out the east of Gravesite Plain, and this is going to be far quicker and easier as there isn't as much stuff to grab now. So back at the 3-path cross Site of Grace, just sprint across this bridge using whatever method you wish. I tend to just run along the left wall. I have found that the ballista never ever hits me if I do this. I don't know if I've just got lucky, so I'm sorry if you try it and you do get killed, but it works every single time for me. Now that we're across, you can grab another Erdtree Fragment right here, and then go ahead and light the Site of Grace. Now we're going to immediately run south, and we'll head right at this camp and drop down the cliff. You can ignore all of the enemies if you wish, and grab yourself another new weapon, the Spread Crossbow. Now head back up the way you just came, and then up the top of this hill we'll turn right, and we are going to almost immediately get another new weapon. So past this first group of enemies and just by this campfire, you can now grab the Swift Spear. Now make a left and head northeast, and you're going to jump off this cliff and start making your way down this absolutely gigantic mountain. Very carefully so as not to die. Ideally, I want to show you the route down, but I don't want to just sit here in silence. So I may as well use this opportunity to remind you that we do have a password group in-game. Make sure you have Knights as one of your group passwords, and you can join in jolly cooperation with the Knights of the Round Table, helping your fellow Knights as much as they help you. This will help you match with other players, see notes, see spirits, and just engage and interact with the community more than ever before. Also, to coincide with this, if you would like to do some proper co-op or PvP, feel free to join the Discord server. We have respective channels set up for all things Elden Ring, and we can play together sometime. Now that that's given us enough time to get to the bottom of the cliff, we're going to head west past this giant Miranda Bloom. Feel free to grab the item on the ledge that I just ran past. It's just a new flower crafting material. And then as we continue through the cave, you can loot yet another revered spirit ash. Now carry on southwest just a tiny bit further and get this Site of Grace. And we are done with this section for now. So what you're going to do is head back the way we just came, out of the cave, past the giant Miranda, but this time you're going to head right back up the mountain going southeast. Once you get to the top, you'll find yourself in a poison swamp. Go east, and behind another Miranda flower will be another cookbook. Now you're going to just carry on heading southeast past this inactive spirit spring for now towards the hovel off in the distance. Here you can loot the Talisman of Dread. And as we're making our way back to the inactive spirit spring to break the seal and jump all the way up to the top of these cliffs, while we're doing that, let me tell you a bit more about the Talisman of the Dread. This is in fact a talisman of a very feared dragon called Baal the Dread. Baal, in fact, is the only dragon ever who has ever stood up against Dragon Lord Placidusax. In fact, they went toe-to-toe in combat, and both came away as wounded as each other. And Baal the Dread is the reason when we fight Placidusax, 2 of his 4 heads are missing. That is how terrifying this dragon is. Now that we're at the top of these spirit springs, we are in the Fort of Reprimand, ready for part 3 of the video. So go ahead and rest at the site of grace, and now we shall proceed through Scadu Altus. Once again, to make it a bit easier for you to follow, I've already gone ahead and grabbed a few sites of grace and the map fragment. So you'll see here a few of the key points we'll be hitting as we do make our way through this area. But don't worry, I'm not going to make you do it in the dark. We will run together to get the map fragment first, and then we will backtrack to grab all of the important loot. Firstly, feel free to just ignore this Omen Killer enemy, and you can jump down, make your way back up the stairs, and light this site of grace. And now, just as we're about to drop down here, be very careful. You want to jump off. If you drop off, you will fall into the dungeon, and you're probably not ready for that quite yet. Now that we're in the courtyard, head west and get out of the fort. Now, if you go north, you can get yet another site of grace, and now we're going to go northeast through the mountain. As you come out the other side, you will see a load of Messmer soldiers fighting a ghost dragon. You can feel free to ignore them all for now, but make sure you grab the repeating crossbow just here before you move on. Now that we've looted that weapon, we are just going to keep heading northwest all the way up here until we get to the map fragment. Once you've looted this, head south, staying on the path, and just off in the distance you'll see another of Miquella's crosses. Feel free to grab the Erdtree fragment, grab the note, rest at the site of grace, speak to the NPCs, do everything you want to here, and when you are ready to move on, we're going to head northwest to that chapel off in the distance. At this chapel, the Church of the Crusade, you are invaded by someone. You can feel free to just run behind him and grab the items we want for now and then leave, but try and fight him if you want to. He's not too challenging, especially with a big binky bonk build. Once he's dead, if you did opt to challenge him, you will acquire the Crusade insignia, and now you can loot the 2 Erdtree fragments and the rune arc. From here, ideally we want to head directly northeast and get on top of this cliff, but unfortunately there's no ledges for us to climb up, so we're going to have to run down all the way to the east into the camp, and then we can hug the left cliff wall, going northeast, avoiding the furnace golem, until we can finally start making our way back up again. Now heading west, making your way up to the top of the camp, you will be faced with a Twinblade Black Knight. You want to burst him down as quick as you can, and he will drop you the Twinblade weapon. Alternatively, you can make your way up here carefully, clearing out all of the enemies first. The way I did it is obviously far quicker, but also far riskier. Now that we've got the Black Steel Twinblade, we are going to get on Torrent and get the hell out of here. As we're now running back through this camp, there is a Erdtree fragment here that for some reason I didn't bother grabbing. But if I pause right here, you can see it glowing just to the left of the Furnace Golem. So feel free to run past, grabbing that as you go past him. Once we're out, I'm going to quit out again to de-aggro the enemies before we continue on with the last part of Scadu Altus. This is when you now want to run southeast towards the Morth Ruins Site of Grace. I'm going to teleport there and I will meet you there. Now that you're here, once again, grab the Erdtree Fragment and we are going to head pretty much directly south. Just to the left of this collapsed building, you will see another shiny jar enemy. Be very careful once you've killed him because you will be ambushed by a Curse Blade. So grab the item and run away should you wish. Now we're going to carry on up the hill to the southeast. Here, just to our right, you'll see an inactive Spirit Spring. So for now, we're going to go around the cliff to the east. And right in the corner here, you can break the seal and unlock the Spirit Spring. Now we'll come back around the mountain and jump up it. And now feel free to ignore every single enemy as you continue to run southeast all the way up to the top of this cliff edge for yet another Miquella's Cross. You know the drill, grab the loot, grab the Site of Grace, and we are now done with Altus apart from one final thing. So meet me back at Morth Ruins, and we're going to head northeast through a cliff. As you get to the underside of the cliff that I'm talking about, you'll see another Erdtree Fragment that you can loot. Feel free to grab the more minor loot as you're running through, and then you can get a new spell by these two Perfumer enemies. Now jump out of the north exit, and we are just going to keep heading northwest through this underpass. I stop here and deliberate whether I should grab this item just to show you you can get part of the Gravesite armor set just here. You don't need it, it's pretty shit, but at least it's cool for lore. Keep going west and eventually you will find yourself in Ruah base. Grab the Site of Grace, and yes my friends, I am 99% sure it is pronounced Ra, just like the Egyptian god of sun, though no relation. At first I thought it might be Rau, but it's definitely not, it is Ra. Anyway, history lesson over. Now that we all know that, we are ready to move into the final part of the video. This will be the shortest segment, there's just a few more things left to do now. As always, I've already grabbed the map fragment and placed my markers, so you will just be heading southwest all the way down this ravine. And wait, is anyone else seeing a drunk skeleton with a party hat on the side of his head here? This guy looks, woo! We're going to head southwest down the ravine and grab the map fragment. Next up, we'll head all the way south, then hit up the Temple Town Ruins, finishing up by going slightly north for the Site of Grace, and then finally a super hidden, very, very powerful piece of loot that you do not want to miss. Again, I don't want to skip too much of this as we are running past the giant stone golems and getting to the map fragment so you don't get lost. So I'll use this opportunity to tell you, just in case you didn't know, that we have a Patreon. If you would like early access to all of my videos up to a week in advance, so you can smash out the DLC before all your friends, along with an exclusive channel in Discord, merch and other perks too, feel free to check out the Patreon and have a look through the tiers and what they offer you. Hopefully that shameless plug has given us enough time to get to the map fragment. Now, as I say, we're heading all the way down to the south to the edge of the cliff to grab another revered Spirit Ash. Now turn around and head back to the ruins of this town. And if you squeeze in between these two buildings, you will see a tiny little gap in the wall just here. In here, I'm going to bring out Best Boy Dungy just so he can distract all the enemies for me while I show you all the juicy stuff. So next up, we're going to head up these stairs and then double back on ourselves to kill this shining jar enemy. And then back the other way, carefully double jump onto this balcony for a Erdtree Fragment. Now we're going to make our way north along the top of the town ruins. And if you want, you can take out this Horned Warrior, or you can just completely ignore him. He's not guaranteed to drop anything, and he's not the reason we're here. So if you're a bit intimidated by him, you can just run past him for now. The only reason we're here is to head up the stairs, open the chest, and grab the two-handed talisman. We are now done here, so carefully drop down the cliffs to the west, and once you're back on the ground, you can grab this Site of Grace. Now for the final section of the video, head north, and just round the right-hand side of this mountain, you will see a spirit spring. Up the top is a really lame chest just containing a crafting material. That's not the reason we're here, my friends. Now we're going to climb up on the ruins of this structure and jump over to the other cliff next to us. Head through the gap in the mountain, and there's another room you can enter out the other side where you'll be able to loot Divine Bird Warrior Ornis. Now, as we're wrapping up the video, Divine Bird Warrior Ornis may look different for you in your game than he does in mine. I believe this is just filler artwork at the moment because he looks identical to one of the other puppets from the base game, and I'm pretty sure that's not intended. So hopefully you will see him in all his glory when you loot him in your playthrough. And with that, my friends, as you see, we are already level 8 in our Scadutree Blessing and level 5 for our Revered Ashes, with the maximum levels of these being 20 and 10 respectively. So you are already almost halfway to max level, and you haven't even done anything yet. With this and all of your new weapons and equipment, you should absolutely crush the early stages of the DLC now. So with that, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.